What is going on, Ravens flock? And we are back here again. Ravens Way podcast, episode number 18. Rolling here through the week. It is Thursday, the 24th of August. We are officially 16 days from the season, if I'm not mistaken. Voss, how we doing tonight? How we doing?
I'm excited, man. It's time to really get into football mode now. The weather's turning just a little bit, and we're right around the corner. I'm hyped.
Definitely. I'm hyped. I'm ready to go. Already got my tickets for the first game, the home opener against Houston. So I'm pumped. I'm ready. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? Let's get these games going. Let's have some meaningful football as we move here through preseason. And before we get into preseason, something that happened kind of the day after we had our podcast on Thursday. Clowney, Jadeveon Clowney signed with the Baltimore Ravens, $2.5 million guaranteed, up to $6 million in incentives. I know that was our guy. That was the guy for both of us. Voss,
Yeah, they must have listened to our pod Thursday, and they're like, we got to get it done. There's no other way. I thought it was the right player. That's who we ID'd as the right player. The right time, where it was really dwindling down to the last few options, kind of like the Odell Beckham signing was. But this was also a perfect price point. I mean, it's pretty cheap, cheaper than I thought he was going to be. We heard rumors that he was going to be cheap, and he was even cheaper than those rumors said he was going to be. So, and he's also a great fit. So, I don't know. I'm excited about this. I think this is the most complete team once, God willing, everyone's back healthy. The most complete team that the Ravens have assembled since 2012.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And to add on to what you said, it ended up being right player, right place, but it also kind of was right player, right time. And, just to get into what he can do. And I think with the way that most modern NFL talk has gone is if you're drafted high and you aren't an elite number one 20 sack a year type guy and you're an edge rusher, you're a bust. I don't buy that. I think he's a very solid player. He's had at least 4 seasons of 9 sacks that I can count off the top of my head. So that isn't a bust to me.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That really isn't a bust to me. Go ahead.
No, I think sack production is a large product of surrounding talent and scheme. We've seen players in Baltimore like Judon and Zadarius who were, some people didn't want to pay up to sign them. Probably would have been a good idea because they were limited by the scheme and the surrounding talent. So sorry to interrupt, but I've always been, pressures and hurries and, wins and tackle for loss are just as valuable.
Definitely. But yeah, like I was saying, he can still provide you some disruption on the edge. He can still also set the edge on first and second down. I think that's probably one of the bigger reasons why the Ravens brought him in, because they don't have a true edge setter, so to say. I think Owe's shown a lot of flashes, and he has been decent in the run. But you want somebody that can go out there and blow up a right tackle on the run and be able to make some splash plays. And it also allows you to really move some of these guys around. And it takes a little bit of pressure off Ojabo being that guy right away. So all in all, I love the signing. I think, he could maybe be a 6-sack guy. But we didn't bring him in to be really a sack artist. We brought him in to go stop the run and go slide inside on third down or play outside and let someone else slide inside.
Yeah, I think it's a great fit. That's exactly who they needed. Jonas Schaefer at the Baltimore Banner put out an article at the signing. I don't recall the stats, but he was, I think, top 10 in EPA on rushing plays, and no one else returning on the Ravens was like top 100 or something like that. So anyway, just a macro level point. We beat up the Roquan contract quite a bit here. We were talking about it a little bit, offline. I think, you got to find ways to return value. And if he is a guy that can attract, or be part of the nucleus along with Beckham, or to attract the Beckham. That's maybe some value that they can return. These mercenary vets that are chasing rings is what I'm trying to get to. We see that Chiefs can sign guys, Eagles can sign guys. The Ravens are, in my view, in that first tier at this point. They're in that top tier, so they can keep tapping into that if they can.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. It feels nice to have a little bit of stardom here in Baltimore for the first time in a while, and have that ability to go out there and sign someone like Clowney, who's probably wanted $10 million again, like he's been getting the past 7 off seasons. But we got him for 6, so feels good. Voss,
and a lot of the incentives are based on sack totals, right? So if he does return, if he does get home, that's always been the thing. He doesn't get home. Well, okay, people said Judon didn't get home, and look what he did in New England. But anyway, mercenary vet ring chasers, I'm all for it. Let's keep the pipeline.
Definitely. So jumping in here to the preseason game against the Washington Commanders. Just to give myself
streak's over.
Yeah, give myself a little pat on the back. Me and Kevin were on here, and I said the streak would end, and it would end versus Washington. And that was 2 games ago. That was before the game against the Eagles. So called my shot, hit it. Just felt like time was coming with that, and it's just a streak in preseason. And as much as John Harbaugh wants to go on the podium and tell you that it matters, the streak itself does not matter. The game may matter, yes. But
what do you mean the game may matter?
Like the players you're playing in, like they're playing for roster spots and all that stuff.
It matters to the players, but not to the team.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, it was Washington's 1s against Baltimore's 2s for pretty much the whole first half. And I think we see that the Ravens' pass defense, they don't quite have the depth of pass rushers and maybe coverage defenders that they had in previous years. Probably why they lost. But maybe that's, with the death of the preseason streak becomes the birth of a postseason streak. Who knows?
Yeah, hopefully it's a good omen, Hopefully Harbaugh's ego died on that field, and now the ego of the players can take over on the field,
Yeah, well, we'll see. I think it's good. I mean, he's bringing in some big personalities this year. He had a big shakeup on his coaching staff. He went young. He has an offense coordinator that isn't necessarily married. And we talked about Harbaugh a little bit on the last pod, so we're not going to reiterate. But it does seem like he's kind of in like a senior advisor role almost this year. So anyway, let's get to the game. I was really impressed by the opening script, the Monken script, with Justice Hill and Zay Flowers propelling them to that touchdown. I thought both of them had a lot of explosion, juice, and I'm really excited because I think the scheme and the players that they've added to it are going to solve the yak problem. I think it's a twofold solution. Number one is having players that are better with the ball in their hands as far as breaking tackles and breaking up chunk plays. And the second is spreading the field so that their safeties are put in conflict a little bit more and can't just be 2 yards behind Mark Andrews on every crossing pattern.
Definitely. I was super impressed with what Todd Monken did. To dive a little more into, like, I think that, we talked about it before with the running backs maybe not being maybe like some efficiency there is like, you have Lamar, you let him have the short plays, but I think it's pretty evident that he wants to get the ball into running back's hands quick out of the backfield. And when you have hot blitzes coming at you, and as great as the receivers that we have now, sometimes you do have to get the ball out quick, and the quickest outlet is going to be a swing pass from a running back. Or, we're talking about other ways to draw the defense in so you can take shot plays and have explosive plays, running back screens and
wheel
tunnel
routes.
screens. Yeah.
Wheel routes, baby.
Yeah, so, I'm in favor of it. I think it's a great add to the offense. And continuing with the offense, as much as we are excited with Odell Beckham and Rashad Bateman and Zay Flowers and Nelson Aguilar, we cannot forget that there still will be some decent 12 personnel usage in the offense. They still use tight ends. And we saw that pretty evident out there. And I just have to say it, there's only one player who led there's only one player who led the team in receiving yards this past game, and it was number 80 on the field, number 1 in my heart. And
those two catches he were sick. Both of them were sick catches, for real.
They were.
I'm not just saying that because I'm your co-host and you like him. Those were sick. Those are like highlight reel preseason of the last 5 years catches.
Yeah, I was probably screaming a little too loud in my room watching those catches. Just because the first game he had the fumble and there's so much pressure, I'm like, oh, well, if he comes out here as a bad second game, I don't know if I can keep going with this. But anyway, the overall point besides that was that they still are going to use tight ends, and that's still going to be featured in this offense. And I look forward to it because we have 3 really good tight ends.
Yeah, in that same vein or that same topic area, Vokalek with the 2 tight ends bulldozed his way in through 2 defenders for the first, and second one was, I thought, good ball placement by Anthony Brown, and he made a nice catch there too. Is Pat Ricard at risk? Is that I don't know. I'm just maybe we should save that for the remaining questions. But my notes were Vokalek and your boy, and can those 2 guys, or even just one of those guys, maybe that really look if they're really tight on roster spots.
Yeah, I mean it's tough because you have to really go through of what Kolar's leap was like in blocking and be like, do you trust that over having Ricard in as an additional 7th offensive lineman? Do you trust that he can kind of Josh Oliver his way onto the field and go out there and be a more than capable blocker?
I think about 70 to 80% of his snaps this game were lined up in line.
Who, Kolar?
For Pat.
Oh, Pat. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I mean, it is getting tight with the roster and how many people they can put on offense. Do I think they cut him? Probably not. Do I think they trade him? Probably not. Jeff made a good point that there has been years past. I think it was 2018 and last year they went into the year with 4 tight ends on the roster. So it isn't something that they haven't done before. If you want to classify Ricard as a tight end,
I don't know. Trying to figure out who's going to do a handshake with who, and who's going to do a do-si-do with somebody else, and who needs IR DTR and who needs on Marlowe, whatever. I'm more concerned with who's going to be on the team that Wednesday, not Monday, Wednesday. Because trying to figure all that out. But anyway, yeah, I proposed an idea. I did a pod with Ken yesterday that they bring him back, but on a pay cut, or at least make him earn like $1 million of it back based on incentives or something for Pat. Just because it is tight money next year, and you can get Clowney for 2.5. Every million counts. But I did have one more note on offense before. I don't know if you have any more you have on, but I thought Simpson had a really, really strong game. I think he cemented the left guard spot. You saw everything you wanted to see. And granted, this wasn't against Washington's first team D-line. Those were among their dozen inactive guys. But, pull blocks, just knocking guys off the ball, anchoring against pass pro, hitting the second level occasionally. I thought he looked, it was a pretty good Ben Powers impersonation to me.
Yeah, I mean, giving the team's history at this position, I think he had a great game, but once again, this team does really crazy things at left guard, and next thing you know, we have like someone totally different starting week 1 just because they're just doing this weird.
Falele. That's like the dark horse. What is the odds that Falele is starting left guard for the first snap of the season?
Probably like plus 180.
Plus 180. I thought
Yeah.
you were going to say like plus like 12,000 or
No.
1,200. 1,200. No, I would take that.
I still think it's even money between a few guys. I mean, I still wouldn't be surprised if Cleveland went out there and somehow made it, or they trade him. I don't know. There's still a lot to go on. It's just what they did last year, where Ben Powers was all the film guys were like Ben Powers stinks, and Ben Powers was playing center, he was playing right tackle, and then week one he's out there at guard. So I just
Nah, yeah, you mean like you could be Cleveland, but I'm saying Lele, who hasn't played any left guard.
right.
Anyway, let's move on. What else did you see, like as far as the offensive side of the ball before we turn it over?
The only thing I would add is Keaton Mitchell's really fast, and Melvin Gordon should not be on this football team come next Wednesday, I think, or whatever it is. I don't see
saving.
it.
Go ahead.
I was just saying I don't see it, and Keaton Mitchell's elite speed, good return ability in case whoever the returner is go down, Duvernay, Justice Hill. So I don't, I think it's time. I think Melvin Gordon was a dumb signing, and goodbye.
I mean, it didn't cost them anything if they caught him. It costed them literally $0. I don't know. Maybe that was some kind of like move to Dobbins, and then he could come into the locker room and be like, "Damn, I shouldn't have been a running back, but you got to do what you got to do." Like, who knows? I don't know what they were doing. Maybe a Jedi mind trick. Either way, I completely agree. I was saving that for remaining question segment, but let's flip it over to defense. I want to talk about Travis Jones for a minute. I really do see a breakout season coming for this guy. I think he could be part of the elixir to the pass defense or pass rush conundrum. And, I'm not trying to set really high expectations, but I do think, this year or next year maybe, he does have like the toolbox to become one of those like top 10, franchise cornerstone defensive lineman, anchor your entire front seven of this kind of guy. Just the way KC did it to Jones. Not that I'm saying he's going to be as good as Jones, but he could. So, question: best defensive lineman the Ravens have drafted since Haloti Ngata?
Defensive lineman is like interior defensive lineman.
Yeah, altogether, yeah. I mean, Suggs was drafted before Ngata anyway, so I don't think you're going to pick. Yeah.
Depends on what you qualify as Zadarius Smith as, because he does play a lot of 3 and was a rush linebacker. So
I personally think he may be. He's in the contention. I mean, I guess Brandon Williams is, but he was a very one-dimensional player. You have Tibby Jernigan, you have Matabike, but I think Travis Jones can have a Haloti Ngata type, career. I'm really excited about this guy.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and just would like to reiterate that people forget that he was a first round, early second round talent that fell to the third round, and he showed a lot of good stuff at UConn, and now he comes in and he showed a lot of good stuff last preseason. Unfortunately, hyperextends his knee, has to sit out for a little bit. Some of those you really can't recover from those injuries right away. Those are hard.
Just to cut, it was the beginning before the season started, so he didn't even really get his feet wet. He got his feet wet while he was injured.
Right, yeah. So, like I was saying, sometimes those injuries are really hard to come back from in a couple of months and be okay. It's hard. But I feel good about him too. I put him as a breakout earlier in the offseason as one of my 3, I think, breakout players. So
remind me the 3.
Owe, I think it was Owe, Travis Jones, and the third one was like a random off ball one that I always go with.
I don't remember, but I like those 2. I think that could be the makings, the foundation of the Ravens pass rush for the next 3, 4, and beyond seasons. Those 2 guys. So yeah, I'm with you on that.
Real quick on Travis. This defense kind of as a whole really reminds me of the 2018 defense. And I know, you don't want to compare. I'm only comparing skill sets here, but just bear with me. So you have Judon in Owe. Owe is going to be a power rusher now, which Judon kind of was, kind of this hand specialist. You have Ojabo and Suggs. And
You
once
said
again,
the 08 defense? 18.
2018. 2018.
18. Okay, got it.
So you have your Owe and Judon. You have your Ojabo and Suggs. You have your Clowney and Za'Darius. You have Michael Pierce, who's back on the roster. You have Travis Jones, who's Brandon Williams plus plus. You have Marlon Humphrey, further down the line. Brandon Carr, you could probably say Ronald Darby at that point. I don't think that's too far off. And then you have Eric Weddle, Marcus Williams. Marcus Williams a little more athletic at this point because Eric Weddle's back of his career. And then, dime linebacker, you could maybe say Geno Smith. Wink, maybe. But I think this is going to be a really.
You mean Levine, right? You mean
maybe. No. They had Tony Jefferson there on the roster.
But he didn't. He wasn't coming down for dime. I don't think till 19.
Okay. Well, anyway,
I like that comparison. I'll just say that I think this team has a better safeties, and that honestly, the weak link of that team was it was like the triangle of death between Mosley, Weddle, and Jefferson. And I think that they're, and I think the one main big comparison you meant this. I'm not sure if you said it, but Roquan is Mosley. Did you mention that one?
Yeah, I was going to. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Roquan can cover though. That's a bigger difference.
Yeah. I like that. I think Jason, the friend of the show, said they have like a quartet. They have like the triangle or the like the box of playmakers with the two safeties and the two inside backers. At this point, I think I want them to keep clean because I think those cross dogs, A-gappers are like maybe where they generate a lot of their pass rush.
Right. You could say Owasso is queen as well. From 2018. I don't think that's too far off. But overall, like the synergy of the defense, how it's going to work, I think those are two somewhat equivalent. And that defense was number 1 in the league in 2018. So, it's a pretty fair comparison. Pretty lofty, optimistic, non-doomsday comparison. But flipping back here to the game, on defense. We've talked about it pretty extensively offline. The edge rushers and the pressure overall outside of Travis Jones really wasn't there. Ojabo was out there playing again, and just I think he's really trying to get his feet wet in the run defense and using some moves that may not be so familiar to him, which I'm fine with. His preseason, go out there and try and do things that can hopefully develop you later down the line in the season. But overall, boss, pressure, not the greatest there those first couple of quarters.
Yeah, we're getting pretty good at this podcasting thing because my next note exactly in line said concern level for Ojabo and Tavius. I've never, I've always been concerned that these guys weren't going to make the big impact. Live up to the hype necessarily. It takes time. These are young guys, or maybe one-dimensional guys. Maybe Ojabo is that DPR Justin Houston guy, like we said last time when we were pining for Clowney to get the deal over the finish line. Thank God we did that. I think Clowney is a solution to that problem. I'm not concerned about Ojabo. They spent a second-round pick on Ojabo. I'm not concerned about Robinson. They spent a fourth-round pick on Robinson. Getting into the whole roster construction philosophy theory thing, you take swings on guys like these guys, and you give these kind of guys time to develop. Maybe you don't for people that don't have quite the same ceiling. So if you could put a little bit better pass rush from the interior, Clowney, away, we both think is going to have a good season. So I think they could piece it together. I'm not expecting the pass defense to be as good as it was last year, but I think the passing offense is going to be better, and I think that'll be enough to compensate.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Like I said, very somewhat concerning. I would say put a 6 on the concern level for them not getting pressure. But overall, it is preseason, and we were missing a large chunk of our front seven, and that includes Queen and Roquan, who do account sometimes in the pressure area. And what Mike McDonald likes doing, he loves sending blitzes from the inside linebackers and from Kyle Hamilton lined up on the edge. So another way that the Ravens get pressure. And Kyle Hamilton kind of functions as an outside linebacker when he does that.
And that's not. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I was just saying, taking advantage of certain efficiencies they have with players.
That's not exclusive to McDonald either. I think that's part of the Wink Martindale tree, so to speak, if you really want to call it that. But they've been doing that with Chuck Clark when he was in that same strong safety position going back a few years. Moving on to a couple other notes I had, just a few more from the preseason game. You can't take too much. But I did think that both Kevon Seymour and Adarius Williams reported themselves well as potentially first-string corners. I guess we got a bunch of guys back, and we didn't quite get into that. We probably should, but because they are getting healthier now, although there may be another sneaky injury popping up. Anyway, I was encouraged by Seymour and Washington, and I think both these guys deserve to be on the Week 1 roster. If they want to do a handshake do-si-do with Seymour and bring him back, that's fine. But what if Yasin's knee starts acting up in the first quarter, and you need somebody? I would like to have Seymour there. I'll take the best players into the regular season.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would also say that I'm a big fan of Darius Washington and what he's done so far this preseason, and I kind of shouted from the rooftop that if the Ravens ran more quarters coverage, he'd go out there and probably be a little bit more of a playmaker. And guess what? He's kind of everywhere near the ball over this preseason, and the Ravens have been pretty heavy in quarters coverage here so far through preseason. So, I don't see a way where he isn't on the 53-man roster come Week 1. I don't think you can cut him. You cut him, he won't be back. He'll be somewhere else and be playing.
I was pissed when they caught him. I was pissed when they caught him last year. I was pissed, and I thought that he was going to get poached, and I thought he was a better prospect than Pepe, or a better player, I should say, not prospect necessarily. But we'll see how it goes. There's been a lot of debate about how they should work it. I want security and safety, and it kind of leads me to my last note. Tough game for Caillou Kelly. A lot of people say, oh, he was playing against the good receivers. Well, okay, if he gets caught in action this year, he's going to have to play against good receivers. So that's kind of not the greatest rebuttal, I would say. And it's not just that he didn't fare well in the first half of the preseason game against the Commander starters. He's been getting, some negative practice reports. And he had negative metrics coming out of the draft and measurables, some of them at least, long speed, agility. This bleeds into our next thing. But for me, just philosophically, I don't think you hang on to a guy just because you drafted him if you don't project him to be better than like a CB3 ceiling. If he can't have, eclipse a CB3 ceiling, like Tavius Robinson has probably displayed the same or close to it learning curve that he needs to make, but his ceiling is much higher than Caillou. So anyway, just wanted to make that point.
Yeah. I thought the play he had was pretty big turn off. I mean, he did have the nice play there against the 2-point conversion, making the open tackle and open field. So
that was a nice stick. That was a nice stick. I agree.
Definitely. But when it comes to the 53-man roster, I wouldn't necessarily say cut him, but maybe get creative in the way you keep him. I wouldn't want to stick him on there over someone else like Seymour day one.
I agree with that. All right, so we're ready to go into the remaining questions now. In this 2-week lead up, we're going to be fantasy drafting our eyeballs out and prop bets. I think we should do prop. Each pick our 5 favorite non-Ravens related prop bets on the next show as a segment. By the way, I'm going to tell you that earlier. But yeah,
down with that. Let's real quick. Let's have a moment for the John Harbaugh preseason streak. His ego died on that field.
We're starting a new one.
Amen. Okay. All right.
All right. Remaining questions. I have 1 through 7. Big question about the offensive scheme. I think we've seen more spread. We've seen more 11 this preseason than we saw with Roman. Obviously, tempo, route concepts. They've been doing rub routes, like all kind of stuff like that. My big question relating to that is, how long is it going to take Lamar to really acclimate to this? I know some people don't want any players to put in the preseason. Franchise or $250 million quarterback, or $250 million quarterback. With a new scheme, I don't think practice is a bad thing.
Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to him playing Series 2 this weekend. In terms of how long it'll take for him to get acclimated, probably I'd say 5 weeks. I'd say 5 to 7 weeks. The offense probably still scores some points because it's still got some good players in the offense. I'm talking about from getting fully oiled type of offense. I still think the offense is going to score points. I don't think he's going to be like out there just missing guys and all that stuff. I think it'll be fine, but I think they won't hit the stride, so to say, until near the deadline.
So, quick follow-up question. Percentage chance that Lamar's deep ball accuracy makes this signing a miscalculation? Loaded question. His signing. He's giving paying him a big contract. I mean, I think, I know it's a loaded question, but I think that is a question.
5%. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. We've seen Josh Allen, who was one of the most wildly inaccurate deep quarterbacks in the NFL, and he gets Stephon Diggs, and all of a sudden it's like the script like completely flipped on him, and he still misses. He still misses deep accuracy, and it's a wide receiver stat in my opinion, and I think it's really it's overrated. It's not an efficient way to move the ball. Like I said last pod, you're only attempting maybe 3 true deep passes per game. And Lamar does everything from the 25 and under really, really well. So I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think he makes up for it with what he could do elsewhere, like I said. Do you want me to all right, next one, I think we already touched on the Mitchell versus Gordon battle. And the question mark, does Project Pat, Pancake Pat make the squad? I think we both said we think Pancake Pat's going to make the squad. We both strongly are in favor of keeping Mitchell, making it over Melvin Gordon. And if Melvin Gordon makes it over keeping Mitchell, we will rage text or rage tweet. Okay, moving on. Final offensive lineman. Where are you on the Ben Cleveland versus Sam Mustipher situation?
It's tough because when you really think about it, they have Salah, who's like a guard and a tackle, kind of like he's not good so far. I mean, he's a pretty raw guy. So you can't. He's like half. He's like a half, like a foot in guard and a foot in tackle right now. But when you think about like backup right guard, true guards, like true guards that we have on the roster. And Ben Cleveland played right guard mostly at Georgia. So if we're talking about a true backup right guard versus a true backup center, it's tough. It's a tough decision to make. And Mustafa.
What gives more value? So Ben Cleveland can play left guard to a replacement level, right guard hypothetically to a replacement level. Have you seen him line? I guess they rested Zeitler
In preseason.
and they rested Zeitler on didn't they rest Zeitler one time? Maybe I'm
Yeah,
misremembering.
it might have been
And then anyway, point being, and he's playing right guard in preseason. He's a starting second team right guard. And then right tackle versus a dedicated center versus $6 million, or I don't know how much the savings is. I'll look it up, but Patrick McCary.
I mean, I think Mustafa's the odd man out. So I guess the stack would line up as Stanley 1, Simpson 2, Linderbaum 3, Zeitler 4, Moses 5, Falele 6, Cleveland 7, Lalu 8, and then Makari 9. And I think I'm comfortable with that 9 right there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm with you. I flip-flopped. I had Mustafa over Cleveland last week on Baltimore beatdown projection. This week I flipped it back to Cleveland. I think McCary, you're paying them $6 million. So it's $4 million dead cap. So they only saved $2 million. They really only saved like $1 million. But I think next year he's probably on the chopping block. I don't know. It's just a question of what are they trying to do on the offensive line? Last year, they carried 11 and tried to trade somebody because they thought they had value until they eventually cut Tyree Phillips. And I think he latched on with somebody, and I think I remember seeing him playing in a regular season game. Yeah.
Giants.
Well, and then what was the other guy? That guard?
Bredesen.
Bredesen. Yep. So, yeah, I do expect some curveballs, but another big question I have is Tyus Bowser. When is he going to be able to come back? He's still wearing a sleeve on his knee and limping around. It doesn't look good. And could Malik Ham maybe add to the Keaton Mitchell UDFA crop?
Yeah, I mean, if Bowser, I think we talked about last time, if Bowser gets put on short-term IR, I think Malik Ham does have a decent spot decent chance to make the roster along with Jeremiah Moon, one of the two. Whoever the Ravens decide is the best out of them. They both have a Sam linebacker skill set. I'm a little more confident in Moon just because I know I watched his tape. And I didn't watch Malik Ham's tape out of college because he went to like a small school in Baltimore, if I'm not mistaken. So kind of hard to find that tape.
Yeah, there's not much tape on it. But, I mean, I think he does have promise. I'd love to keep him on the practice squad. The question is, can he keep it going? I mean, I posed this question to a friend of ours earlier. Malik Ham versus Caillou Kelly. Who has more surplus value potential, essentially, But Journeyman DVs versus the Young Guns, we already touched on that. I think maybe one of the other questions, how many special teams roster spots are they going to carry? I've seen projections. I mean, last week, Delshon Phillips had a great game in the first preseason game. He was on making picks and causing havoc in practice. And a lot of people had him as the 5th. And now this week, I'm seeing a lot of 4 inside backers. I don't know, man. They carried 6 last year. And even somebody else we know even said 3 inside backers, which I thought was like crazy talk.
Yeah, I mean, it would be an ideal world if they carried 3 and then they signed some guys off the street if someone got hurt, but that's not gonna happen. I mean, it's hard. They're probably gonna carry 5. I 5 inside linebackers. In terms of special teams, I really only want them to carry like 5 in total. Like one ace gunner, one ace returner, and then just whatever about the rest. The special teams, it's gonna die. It's gonna die very soon. Kick return and punt return, and they're gonna start. They're gonna start ruling the hell out of it and trying to turn down the intensity on those plays because it seems like that's the focus is that some of those plays get a lot more injuries than others.
I like carrying players that are good on special teams. There's a big caveat. Nuance. Some people aren't good with nuance. If they pick premium positions. Kevon Seymour, good on special teams, premium position, let's do it. Tyler Wallace having a great, efficient preseason. I think he only catches touchdowns now. He's a new Sterling Sharp. Plays wide receiver. Let's do it. So anyway,
Right.
I think we're winding down here. I just want to say I'm expecting some curveballs. There's always one or two. I mean, it was last year that they kept Welsh. They kept Phillips, and
They kept Bynes too.
Yeah, I know Bynes, but that wasn't surprising. That we knew we were going to keep Bynes. That's what I was trying to say. And Josh Oliver. They've cut the Thizilla. Robert Myers was a guard they took out of like Middle Tennessee like 6 years ago. Anyway, they don't always keep all the draft picks like some people think. And we've identified a lot of them. Could Sharp sneak on the roster? Ham, could KBK get released or try to pass it through waivers again in the P squad, which I think would be ideal. Ricard, I'm like 75% confident they're going to keep him. But that's kind of might be a little low. McCary, 90%, but that could be a huge curveball. They're trying to save cap. They are going into next year with a lot of void year money on the cap and a lot of high paid players. So I would expect a couple curveballs.
Yeah, definitely. As no matter how the roster shakes out here, as long as Keith Mitchell or Darius Washington, I'm trying to think who else played well. There were some under names there for the on the undercard a little bit.
Vokalek, David Sharp.
No, I don't want him. I don't want him either.
Vokalek, you don't want either of them?
Nope.
Okay.
If you can trade him, go ahead. But I'm not threatened. I know. I don't want tight end 3 spot threatened right now.
I think Pat Ricard is worth $1 million of a replacement. I'll agree with you on there. But I'm just saying, like, they're probably going to do something. I think there's going to be 2 players out of left field on this roster. I'll say that. Not the handshake deal roster, like the real roster. Once they make the handshake deals and then make the maneuvers and do the spiderweb stuff and then really get there.
And they could someone gets cut from another team, they might take a shot on. And you see someone like Kai Kelly get cut because cornerback 4 from a good team is available.
They might keep Tay Hayes or what's the safety?
Amos got cut.
No, not Amos. Not Jaquan Amos. The he has 3. He has a hyphenated last name, CEH, not CEH, but something like that.
You lost.
Anyway, they're gonna do some crazy stuff. I would pretty much guarantee it.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. Like I pointed out previously, that GFZ said that it comes. There's always going to be a surprise, and Josh Oliver last year kind of was that surprise. So, the only thought I could really have here at the end is I think his spot secure, but hopefully, hopefully Kolar's on the 53-man because I know teams may call and try and make a nice offer.
You think they might flip Kolar for fourth and then keep Vokalek? That's what you're saying?
I hope not, but they've done stuff like that before.
Well, you got to keep your allegiance to the Ravens no matter what.
Yeah,
this is a Purple Patrol podcast now.
Keep your allegiance to the Ravens.
All right, brother. Always enjoy
the republic, the democracy.
always enjoy chatting up with you. The next 2 weeks are going to be pretty fun. We'll give some hot ones, some fire based on what they do, but I do have to say I am optimistic about this team. I think that the ability to make a comeback in the playoffs on the strength of your passing offense is something that they had blinders on for the last 4 or 5 years, and now they don't. And I'm hyped. Let's go.
Definitely pumped for the season. And like you said, I think we'll have a nice little betting episode in that week between the end of the preseason and into the season. We'll have a nice little parlay, handed out money. Should be a fun time. But appreciate everybody for joining, and we will see you guys next time. Peace.